Hello, beautiful folk, and welcome to day 30 at SWDY Talks, where we are posting 31 videos in 31 days talking about women's wellness. And today I would like to share a few tricks that we at the SWDY community have picked up along our self-care journeys. And we share these around here. These have been great tools in helping us to keep our heads and regain our balance in times of adversity. And here we go. So it's, I think, 3 of them. So if it's hysterical is historical is the first one. So this is about when something happens and you have a really powerful reaction to it. So something happens and you react with anger, fear, sadness, rage, insecurity. You feel like you're going to cave in. You just have a really strong reaction to something that just happens. So the question here is whether your reaction is proportionate to the trigger, right? So first, what happened? Somebody says something, right? And I react with anger. I react, out of proportion with what they said. If I witness something violent or something traumatic, then it's understandable that I would feel traumatized or I would feel shocked. Well, this is about when it's not proportionate. So when somebody says something and I react super defensively, right? What's my emotional reaction? Scan yourself. What actually did happen? This person said this. What's my emotional reaction? I want to yell. I'm angry. And ask, is it proportionate? If it's not proportionate, close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, scan your body for wherever in your body the feeling is coming from. Where do you feel it? Put your hands on that part of your body, and you're going to ask yourself, when have I felt this pain before? So let's say I feel it here, or feel it in my stomach, or feel it wherever it is, right? I feel it here. When have I felt this before? I have felt this before. Close my eyes. Eventually my body tells me. This reminds me of when X, Y, and Z happened. I felt this, or this reminds me of this person, or this reminds me of this situation. And if that wasn't the first time you felt it, you keep going back, right? What did that remind me of? Until you get to the source experience that first gave you that. So the body records all this stuff. And this is just somebody triggered something that wants to come up to talk, wants to come up for healing and for processing. And if we ask these questions and if we be quiet and let the answers come up from the bodies, the answers really do come. And as the answers come up, you want to be as gentle with yourself as possible. You ask your body what it needs. What do I need? Be soft, kind, and gentle. Listen. And try to give yourself as much nurturing and support and resource as you can. So I hope that helps, because that's one of my favorite ones. It keeps me from, reacting inappropriately in a lot of situations, right? When you're living under a lot of stress, a lot of things can trigger you. You're always really raw. So this is one of the reasons to take good care of yourselves. All right, so another one that we have been talking about here was one that I was just led through, which was amazing. And this is a trick you use when you are dealing with fear, when you're feeling paralyzed by fear. And I was coached with this by Janvieve. If you remember Janvieve, you saw her on day 23. She's amazing. And if you recall, Janvieve is now a life coach amongst all of her other social justice and POC focused justice work that she does. And she coached me through a moment of very deep fear for myself. And this is kind of how it went. So she asked me, what is the worst case scenario in this situation? For me, it was a certain situation. What was my worst case scenario? And I said, this is my worst case scenario. This is what it would have to be. And she said, okay, so what would you have to do or not do in order for that worst case scenario to come true? What would have to happen for that worst case scenario to come true? And then I gave her that answer. I would have to do or not do all of these things. And she said, are these things what you are doing? Is this what you are doing right now? No, that's not what I'm doing at all. I'm doing all of these things. Okay, great. What's the next worst case scenario? You start scrapping the worst case scenarios, because now you know what it would take to get there. And if that's not what you're doing, you're not going to get there. Something else is going to open up. And she led me through this until basically what I wound up with was pretty much a certainty that I wasn't going to let these worst case scenarios happen, that whatever fear had a hold of me was a lie, and the fear is almost always a lie. And the dopeness of this trick, of this hack, is that I wound up with a really neat to-do list of what I needed to do to make sure that none of these things happen, right? So I'm like, okay, so then it all of a sudden highlighted what actions were really important for me to take and what actions were not important for me to take, or what was super important that I didn't do, right? So these are wonderful questions. What I like about these formats that I'm sharing is that they remind me of something that Tony Robbins says. He's another life coach, huge, amazing, what a beautiful human being. And he's nutty, but he's amazing. And one of the things he says is that the quality of your questions in your life will dictate the quality of your life. So if you want a better life, you need to ask better questions of yourselves. And I keep hearing him, making fun and doing his sappy voice going, why does this always happen to me? And that's like the worst question, because of course it begets the answer, because something's wrong with you. So, so these are great because I really do like the question format. When I'm feeling stuck, when I'm feeling tight about something, I ask myself questions and it starts to get me into action again, right? Or into feeling, if that's what I need to do. So the last one that I wanted to share is about feelings as well. And this one's very personal for me because it's something that I'm literally right now working on. And it's about accepting my feelings as they are. So I'm one of those people that loves to beat herself up about how she feels. I question and judge every feeling I have, and oh my God, do I feel. I feel so much. I feel everything. I feel like a live nerve. It's so annoying. And for a long time, I've resisted, right, all these feelings. I shouldn't feel this way. This is not how I want to feel. This is not, right? And recently, my therapist said, or she who shall not be named said, gave me the trick of welcoming my feelings and making friends of them and owning them. And what that means is that she had me do this neat little trick where I kind of placed my intention of witnessing myself from off in the corner, and she started asking me what feeling was I feeling. And at the moment I was feeling fear. And she said, welcome fear, and say, fear, welcome. You're supposed to be here. This is where you're supposed to be. And thank you, you're mine. And basically doing this silly little, what feels like a silly little trick, right, of asking your feelings, welcoming your feelings, and saying that, your feelings are supposed to be here. It made a change for me. It had an impact for me. And it didn't have an impact like intellectually, it had an impact physically, which I'm much more appreciative of these days, because that feels more real to me. My brain comes up with all kinds of madness. This is real. So I hope that these at least made some sense for you, and I hope that you guys find this at all helpful. I know that many of you, are asking me to kind of share some of this because we talk about them here all the time, and these are things that we are talking about around here. So again, I hope these are helpful. As always, thank you for listening, and I leave you in love and light. Peace.